Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, September 3rd. This is Gina McGuire. Over the next few days, we will continue to have very hot temperatures with near record temperatures over the northern half of the Great Basin, mainly dry conditions, and hanes of 5 or 6 region-wide. This will increase the potential for holdovers and also plume-dominated growth on our already existing larger fires. Also, a couple features of note. Tonight, there may be some gusty north to northeast winds over far northwest Nevada. And also, as we move into late Monday night into Tuesday, after a cold front moves through the northern Rockies, it will shift winds to the northeast over southern Idaho and Wyoming and increase the downslope flow. Therefore, wind gusts could be in excess of 30 miles per hour overnight Monday into early Tuesday morning. Also, again, that northeast wind direction. As we move towards midweek, we still are expecting that return of thunderstorms to the Great Basin. Over the last 24 hours, the only lightning has been across far southern Nevada into the Arizona Strip, and these thunderstorms did produce good amounts of rainfall. Over the last 24 hours, the Great Basin has seen light initial attack with only 9 new fires reported. However, we continue to see growth on our larger incidents due to the hot and dry conditions and high hanes. Over the last 1 to 4 weeks, we've had scattered amounts of precipitation over the last week, but many areas have been very dry, and these areas of precipitation were associated with thunderstorms. Also, over the last 30 days, most of the region has seen below normal precipitation, with only some spotty areas associated with heavier thunderstorm activity of near normal precipitation. Again, the central Idaho mountains into southern Idaho have been the driest side of the Great Basin. Current fuel conditions, we have continued hot and dry weather, which allows our ERCs to continue increasing fairly rapidly, with now all of Idaho, Wyoming, into northern Nevada and northern Utah seeing ERCs above the 80th or 90th percentile. Even areas in the south have been increasing due to those hot and dry conditions and are above the 50th percentile almost region-wide. If we look at our ERC graphs, we can see over the central Idaho mountains, ERCs well above normal to still near records, and even over northern Utah and over parts of southern Nevada that would normally be on the downward trend with ERC this time of year have been increasing and are above normal due to the hot, dry weather. 10-hour fuel moisture very low across all areas of the Great Basin with the exception of the far south. 100-hour fuel moistures are also lowest mainly over the western half of the Great Basin, but are generally between the 6th and 8th percentile across the area. The satellite loop from this morning shows strong high pressure dominating the Great Basin with generally clear skies across the region, with the exception of some moisture from Tropical Storm Lydia pushing north up into the Arizona Strip, far southern Nevada, and right along the Sierra. This is generally producing some cloud cover this morning, but we could see some areas of lightning once again over far southern areas of the Great Basin. Again, fuels in these areas have recovered somewhat, but are still relatively low with respect to ERC, and fuel moisture is still slightly higher. Now looking at the weather pattern for later today, again very dry conditions continue across the Great Basin, with only some cloud cover and maybe a few isolated thunderstorms in the far south. Therefore, we continue to highlight the heat, dry conditions, and high hanes over really the entire northern half of the Great Basin. It's in these areas that we have our current large fires, so we expect continued growth on these fires just due to the high hanes and very dry weather. Looking at conditions on Sunday today, relative humidity in the single digits to low teens over the northern half of the area, and you can see the hanes image on the right. Those darker oranges are really hanes 6 across the northern portion of the area, but really most areas will see at least a hanes 5 or 6 as we go through today. As we move into tomorrow, we see the remnants of Tropical Storm Lydia now pulling to the northwest. This may push some moisture into the Sierra for some showers or thunderstorms, but really mainly cloud cover, especially for western Nevada. Otherwise, continued hot and dry weather, and we continue to high risk those hot temperatures, dry conditions, and high hanes. We also have a cold front dropping south through the northern Rockies, so you can see very windy conditions over parts of Wyoming into Montana, and winds will actually be picking up in Wyoming and back into southern Idaho Monday night, however more so into the overnight hours and into Tuesday morning. On Monday, still very low relative humidity region-wide, with again hanes 5 and 6 expected in most areas. But you can see that hanes dropping over Montana into Wyoming as that cooler air with the cold front drops south. On Tuesday, still hot, dry conditions continuing. We are continuing to highlight that on our 7-day fire potential outlook. However, also over southern and southeast Idaho, we are highlighting the wind more so on Tuesday. And again, this is mainly for Monday night into Tuesday morning, where winds will shift to the northeast and be gusty near or even above 30 miles per hour. Relative humidity will come up a little bit with some cooler temperatures, but still be below 15%. Again, looking at those conditions on Tuesday, a little bit higher RH in Idaho, but still around that 15% threshold. And you can see that wind image on the right showing those gusty northeast winds over the southern half of Idaho, even into western Wyoming and potentially into far northern Utah. 3-day forecast amounts of precipitation, again with dry conditions, no real precip expected, except for in the Sierra and over possibly southern areas of the Great Basin will be pretty spotty if we see any isolated lightning. As we approach Wednesday, that's when the weather starts to get a little bit more interesting with respect to thunderstorms. That moisture pushes north and we have a better chance of seeing thunderstorms over the southern half of the basin and then also increasing along the Sierra front. So we did high risk the area along the Sierra front. After several days of very hot and dry conditions, the return of lightning will certainly increase significant fire potential. Also, we'll be seeing gusty outflow winds, which will affect ongoing incidents over these regions. These thunderstorms do look like they will eventually be producing some precipitation, but should be moving north fairly quickly. And again, it's the dry fuels, even with precipitation, that we could see problems with fire starts. As we move into Thursday, this moisture really starts to spread eastward across the Great Basin, so we are risking a much larger area for lightning as we go into Thursday across the northern half of Nevada into western Idaho. Again, these thunderstorms will have some moisture with it, but it is the faster movement of the storms, and also after a period of very hot and dry conditions, fuels will be much more critical as we approach the middle of the week. By Friday, this lightning threat shifts a little bit further east, so you can see on the map on the left how the precipitation and moisture spread across the eastern half of the Great Basin. So we are highlighting those areas into northern Utah, northeast Nevada, and Idaho and Wyoming. But you can already see some drier air working its way into western Nevada. As we move into Saturday, we still have moisture in place really over the eastern half of the area, but we may see some drier conditions with possibly some breezy winds across Idaho into northern and western Nevada. So we will be watching that, especially after a period of lightning once again, along with our continued ongoing incidents, we will be watching that wind. Looking at the 7-day total amount of precipitation, again, very spotty and associated with thunderstorm activity, but you can see a better chance of wetting rains, mainly tied to the higher terrain. If we look at the 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us into the middle of September, still well above normal temperatures expected across the west, but we may see some slightly wetter conditions over parts of the Great Basin as we move into the middle of the month. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you for listening.